That was me, barely sunrise boots half-laced and all hell already breaking loose on my porch. Out there, glowing in the headlights of a sheriff's cruiser, was Bethany Crowell, HOA president, sunglasses on at dawn, hair so perfect you'd swear she used a level. And her smile. That was the kind of smile you only see on folks who just know they're about to ruin your day. I should have taken it as a warning because that's when the first stake hit the dirt, both literally and metaphorically. Now, I'm not the kind of guy who goes looking for a fight, but when someone points at the cabin you built with your own 2 hands on land your family's held since before the county had a name and starts throwing around words like illegal structure, well, let's just say you wake up real quick. Bethany marched up beside the sheriff's car like she owned the whole damn mountain, jabbed a finger at my porch, and started listing violations like she was reading from the 10 Commandments. Sheriff's Deputy Morales tried to play it neutral, but the look on his face said he knew this was all nonsense. Still, procedure's procedure, right? So I let them in. Turns out the HOA decided overnight with a vote and a map nobody'd seen that their boundaries had crept right up the ridge and swallowed my cabin whole. Never mind the Carter family markers driven into the rock since '74, never mind the deed I could quote from memory. To Bethany, her new scenic easement was gospel, and her board was judge, jury, and executioner. When I asked for their proof, her confidence slipped just a hair. No map in hand, no documents, just a smug, "You'll comply, Mr. Carter," before storming off, tires spinning, dust trailing like some kind of threat. Back inside, that first seed of doubt started to sprout. Who'd approve this new boundary? Who stood to win if my land got swept up by the HOA? I needed answers, and there's only one person in this valley who knows every inch of dirt and every backroom deal. Sarah Whitfield, my lawyer, and the closest thing this place has to a truth teller. She picked up before the second ring, barely pausing before saying, "I'm coming up. Don't touch the deed." That's Sarah, never a wasted word. She rolled in 30 minutes later, old Tacoma rattling, boots muddy and eyes sharp. I laid out the deed, the survey markers, every scrap of evidence I had. Sarah didn't flinch, just opened her laptop, pulled up the county filings, and there it was, a brand new HOA stamped boundary map slicing right through my living room. And the signatures: Bethany Marcus, Hale the developer who's been sniffing around these hills for years, and Leonard Briggs, the HOA's pet vice president. "This isn't an HOA dispute anymore," Sarah said, her voice cold as mountain runoff. "It's land encroachment, deliberate, illegal, and it's got Marcus's fingerprints all over it." What hit hardest wasn't just the betrayal, it was the strategy. They'd moved the line on paper, then sent the sheriff, then started documenting violations on land that wasn't theirs. Inspectors rolled in the next day, snapping photos of my firewood, my tool shed, my mailbox, citing me for noise, unsightly storage, even demanding I cut down my pines to restore view corridors. That's when I knew they weren't just pushing me, they were testing if I'd bend or break. But I wasn't alone. The valley, it turns out, was simmering. My neighbor Walt dropped by, old rancher, all quiet wisdom and strong handshake. He'd seen inspectors at Elena's harassing her over tomato beds. Cash offers were getting slipped under doors, move out and avoid the trouble kind of deals. Anyone who pushed back got buried in fines. Marcus wanted the ridge because with it he'd control the water, the trails, the view. Without it, his resort dreams died before they started. That afternoon, as I sorted photos and dated survey maps, my phone buzzed Sarah again. She'd found that the county hadn't even verified the new boundary, hadn't checked signatures, hadn't done a damn thing except file the map as pending. The map itself came from a private engineering firm, not the county. They'd cooked the paperwork and the HOA was using it like it was law. That night, while reviewing trail cam footage, hoping for nothing more than a deer, I caught 3 figures slipping through my tree line at 2:14 a.m., toolbox and survey stakes in hand, and right in the middle, walking with that confident stride, was Marcus Hale. They were staking out my land literally in the dark, believing no one would catch them. Remy, the local surveyor, confirmed it. Marcus was prepping the ground for construction using commercial-grade stakes, not HOA junk. They needed my land not just for a view, but because it was the only spot with bedrock strong enough for a resort. And every move they made, trespassing, harassment, bogus legal threats, was about squeezing me out before I realized what was at stake. But they underestimated the valley. Elena Walt. Tom Lydia neighbors who'd weathered 30 years of storms, ranchers and teachers and cattlemen started showing up with their own HOA citations, their own stories of intimidation. Every time Marcus was rebuffed, another neighbor got a fine, another fence or garden suddenly non-compliant. They weren't picking off Jake Carter, they were picking off anyone who wouldn't sell. We decided to fight. Not alone, not quiet. Together. We scanned citations, documented every trespass, every drone, every inspector. And as Sarah stitched it all together, even the Sheriff Morales let slip that he'd had enough. 14 formal complaints against me in 3 weeks, all from the HOA, none substantiated. They were building a paper trail trying to paint me as the problem so their next move looked justified. What they didn't expect was what Remy found: a dusty old box from the county archive filled with land claims and survey maps dating back to 1900. My grandfather's name, his original claim stamped with the county seal. Not just the cabin plot, but the whole watershed reserved to protect the creek, the same creek Marcus needed for his resort. And that watershed deed. It was older than the HOA, older than any subdivision or zoning request. The county clerk took one look and said, "It's legitimate, entirely, and binding." That morning, before I could even call a meeting, Bethany showed up again, clipboard envelope threats. Vacate the illegal structure on HOA land. 30 days. Sarah stepped in. That boundary adjustment is fraudulent, and you know it. Bethany's confidence flickered, and for the first time I saw real fear in her eyes. With the evidence in hand, we gathered the valley at the old lodge for the emergency HOA meeting. Bethany and Marcus tried their big reveal, projecting their fake map for everyone to see. But this time I was ready. I laid the original deed on the table. This land, this creek, this ridge, it's Carter land and always has been. Sarah backed me up with legal chapter and verse. Remy added the trail cam footage of Marcus's midnight trespassing. The room erupted. Neighbors who'd been bullied for months stood up, called out Bethany and Marcus for what they were: frauds, not leaders. The sheriff shut the meeting down, escorted the board out. The county moved fast, invalidated the boundary, suspended the HOA, and launched an investigation. By the time the judge ruled it was official, the fraudulent maps were gone, Marcus' permits were dead, and the Carter deed stood. I wasn't just free, I was guardian of the valley's waterland and future. A week later, we signed the Carter Valley Stewardship Agreement. Every neighbor, every family guaranteed land stability and protection from predatory development. The HOA signs came down. The inspectors disappeared. And for the first time in months, I sat on my porch, boots up, coffee hot, watching the wind move through the pines, my pines. So here's what I learned, and it didn't hit me until all the fighting was done. Sometimes the law is just paper and ink, but legacy community, that's flesh and blood. You can redraw maps, cook up schemes, throw money and threats around, but you can't buy a valley's soul. Not unless the folks who live there let you. And this valley, we decided we weren't for sale. Now, if you ever stood your ground, no matter what you were up against, drop a yes in the comments so folks know they're not alone. And if justice means something to you, leave that word below. Because the only way bullies ever win is if good people stay quiet. And if you want more stories where the truth gets the last word, go ahead and subscribe. There's always another fight worth telling.
Cảm ơn các bạn đã xem video.